Every dog owner has seen this exact scene play out. Somewhere on your walk, your dog finds the single most disgusting puddle in a 5-block radius. Green, murky, been sitting there since last week's rain. And before you can even react, its head is already down and it's drinking like it's the finest water on earth. 10 minutes later, fine. Tail wagging, trotting along, probably about to lick your face. If you drank that same water, you'd likely be in bed for a week. So what's actually going on? How does an animal casually drink something that would put a human in the hospital and just walk it off? The answer isn't one trick. It's a stack of defenses built layer by layer over millions of years. And it isn't unique to dogs, cats, wolves, horses, wild boar. Most of the animal kingdom runs some version of the same system. Once you see how it works, you'll never look at a puddle the same way again. Before the biology, a correction to the premise of this video, and it's deliberate. Animals absolutely do get sick from dirty water, regularly, and in the wild, it kills them. The reason we never see it is simple. A sick animal doesn't stick around in the open. It disappears into cover and either recovers alone or dies alone. You never witness it either way. So when you watch a lion drink from a swamp and walk off looking unbothered, you're not seeing the full picture. You're seeing a survivor. The ones that drank the same water and didn't make it are already gone, off camera forever. What's actually true is narrower than animals are immune. Animals survive these encounters at a dramatically higher rate than we would. And the reasons are genuinely worth knowing. The first defense is one we technically share, stomach acid, just running at a completely different intensity. Human stomach acid sits around pH 1.5 to 3.5. A dog's stomach, measured directly in multiple studies, sits consistently between pH 1 and 1.5. Because pH is logarithmic, that's not a small gap. It's roughly 10 times more acidic than ours. That's strong enough to break down raw bone, which is exactly why dogs and wolves can eat things that would land a human in surgery. Nearly anything that survives the trip down the throat meets an environment almost nothing can tolerate. It's less a stomach, more a kill chamber. On top of that, carnivores like dogs and cats run a short digestive tract, and food moves through it fast. That matters because bacteria need time to establish a foothold and multiply. In a human gut, food can sit long enough for harmful bacteria to build a real population. In a dog, that window barely exists. The system is built for throughput, not for lingering. Here's the layer that gets talked about the least. Dog saliva isn't just lubrication. It's an active antimicrobial cocktail. It contains lysozyme, an enzyme that physically ruptures bacterial cell walls, lactoferrin, a protein that locks up iron so invading bacteria starve without it, peroxidase, another antibacterial enzyme, and immunoglobulins, antibodies patrolling the mouth in real time. None of this is perfect. Dog mouths still carry plenty of their own bacteria. But dirty water is already being chemically processed before it ever reaches the stomach. Cats run a near-identical system, which is a big part of why they groom so obsessively. Every lick is a mild antimicrobial wash, not just tidiness. And horses take it even further on volume. A mature horse can produce 30 to 40 liters of saliva a day while chewing, continuously diluting and neutralizing whatever pathogens come in with its food and water. Now for the part that's arguably the most interesting piece of this whole puzzle. Every animal's gut hosts a massive standing ecosystem. Billions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes that have co-evolved with that individual animal over its entire life. When a dog keeps drinking from the same stream or the same park puddle, its gut microbiome and immune system quietly learn the specific bacteria living there. The body essentially files it away. Seen this before? Response ready. That's why a wild animal drinking from a familiar source is in a completely different position than one that suddenly drinks from somewhere new. Familiar bacteria, even the mildly harmful kind, trigger a calibrated, practiced response. Totally novel pathogens, ones the system has never cataloged, are where things actually go wrong. It's not immunity in the classic sense. It's familiarity, built through repeated exposure over time, which is also exactly why it's a bad idea to let a dog raised entirely on filtered tap water suddenly start drinking from random outdoor sources. Its microbiome was never primed for that environment the way a dog that grew up outside would be. Everything so far describes carnivores running on brutal stomach acid and fast transit. Horses are herbivores, and their entire architecture works differently. So how do they manage? Horses are hindgut fermenters. Most of their real digestion doesn't happen in the stomach at all. It happens downstream, in a massive fermentation chamber made up of the cecum and large intestine. A mature horse's gastrointestinal tract holds close to 190 liters of content altogether, with the cecum alone accounting for roughly 30 liters of that. Inside it lives one of the densest, most diverse microbial communities in the animal kingdom. Thousands of distinct bacterial species, every available niche already claimed. When a horse drinks contaminated water, incoming pathogens don't land in empty space. They land in the middle of an enormous, thriving ecosystem that simply outcompetes them for resources and space by already being there. It's a completely different defense philosophy from a dog's chemical kill chamber. No acid bath, just sheer occupied territory. And it works just as well. The catch: that same density is also a horse's biggest vulnerability. Sudden diet changes, stress, or antibiotics can destabilize that ecosystem fast, which is exactly why colic and gut health are treated with so much caution in horse care. The mechanism that protects them is the same one that can turn on them. Fair question. And the honest answer is that humans used to be considerably better at it. For most of human history, treated water simply didn't exist. People drank straight from rivers, wells, and streams, and waterborne disease was one of history's biggest killers. Plenty of people also survived it, and there's real evidence that populations with long-term exposure to a specific local water source built up some tolerance to it. The same familiarity principle animals still rely on. But humans solved the problem from a different angle entirely. We invented fire, cooking, and eventually water treatment. Instead of evolving a gut that could handle contamination, we removed the contamination before it ever reached us. That trade worked spectacularly. Modern water infrastructure is one of the greatest public health achievements in history, credited with saving hundreds of millions of lives. The cost is that our bodies are now calibrated for cleanliness. Our stomach acid doesn't need to be as aggressive, partly because cooking already kills most pathogens before we swallow. Our microbiomes are less hardened because we've spent generations reducing their exposure. We didn't get weaker. We externalized the defense system. A dog carries its water treatment plant inside its own stomach. We built ours out of concrete and chlorine. Different solution to the identical problem. And honestly, ours scales to 8 billion people in a way a kill chamber stomach never could. So next time your dog buries its whole face in something that should probably be illegal, Here's what's actually happening in real time. Saliva hits first, a chemical barrier loaded with enzymes and antibodies. Whatever survives, that drops into a stomach acidic enough to break down bone. Anything still standing after that gets swept through a digestive tract, moving too fast for bacteria to settle in. And underneath all of it sits a microbiome that spent a lifetime learning exactly what lives in that dog's world. It's not one defense. It's four, stacked on top of each other, refined over millions of years of eating things that absolutely should not be eaten. Animals aren't immune to dirty water, they're adapted to it. That's the actual difference. And that puddle your dog just drank from where it's standing, that was never even a real challenge.